Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Total Bases Podcast, live from the Baseball Live Facebook group. I am your host, Felipe and With me, as always, is Sean Flannery. Sean, how you doing this morning?
I am great. I'm ready for more playoff baseball. We got baseball and football on a Sunday in October. What is this nonsense?
That's just regular. That's every
Yeah.
year. It's when it's basketball and hockey just ended, but it's like all the four major sports in North America going all at once. That's where it gets like this euphoric feeling or this utopia feeling that, hey, wait a minute, something's not right here. And for obvious reasons, it's not right because it's not supposed to be this way, but we'll take it, man. It's all sports all the time.
Yeah.
So it's better than having no sports at no time. So
yes, that was brutal.
Yeah. How did you survive? I mean, you're a big sports fan, like I'm a big sports fan. How did you survive the pandemic with no sports?
I watched a lot of minor league reruns. I had minor league MLB TV, and it's like I would go and I would find like a prospect, and I'd be like, go to his game logs, and I would try and see if that game was actually TV broadcasted, and then I'd go to my minor league baseball TV app, and then I'd watch the game, and just that way I could actually see some of these players that we've talked about. We see their stat lines, but you don't often get to watch them play.
And we are going to be talking a little bit about some prospects. I do have a couple of prospects I want to talk to you about. I don't know if you have it on your end, but you know what? Just surprise me. It's fine. But we are here today because we're going to do a little bit of a recap of the league division series, both the American League and the National League. And of course, because it's me, I have to share spreadsheets.
Spreadsheets.
These are the visuals that I have for you guys. And this is last week's brackets that you and I made. This is the one that we did on a couple of weeks ago, and where we got brutalized by this wacky high variance degree of randomness in the wild card round. You see all these names getting checked off. The Indians.
Yeah.
Okay, so over here, we don't need this anymore, right? We don't need this anymore. Be gone. Be gone. So we did the 2020 Total Bases Podcast Redemption Round, and look at this. Not a single team was removed here, Sean.
We're getting better. Yeah. We're getting better.
All the haters. Oh, well, you got all them wrong. What shows how much you know? You don't know anything. Ha! 4-0 bitches right here. I'm taking my freaking victory lap because you guys were doubting us and making fun of us. Here you go. We totally redeemed ourselves. 4-0, and I don't know what else to say, man. I mean, it is what it is. I just want to.
Did you have any doubts? Did you have any doubts at any moment?
No, not in this round. No, this round was a little bit more in my wheelhouse because the first round was very random. It's anything can happen in that first round because it's the wild card round. It's only 3 games. It's only at one ballpark, and it's a home team's ballpark. But we just noticed that home field advantage doesn't really matter in these wild card rounds, does it? But it's like I said a couple of weeks ago, or was it last week? I don't know. But we don't run from our errors. We don't run from our mistakes. We don't hide like other people do. We'll eat crow and tell you when we're wrong, but when we're right, be ready for it, because a wave of arrogance and pompousness is coming your way. So there you go. Boom, Rays. Boom, Astros, Dodgers, Braves, all of them. And our World Series, our redemption World Series is still intact. So I like where we're sitting right now, Sean. How about you?
I do too. I thought the Rays Yankees got a little close, and my faith was shaking a little bit. I thought I was going to be wrong, but they held through. Mike Brousseau, undrafted free agent in 2018 in Montgomery, was batting like 220 just 2 years ago. And now, the Rays sprinkled some of their magic prospect quality player dust on him, and he hits the biggest homer in the season against one of the best closers in the game. How can you not be romantic about baseball? It's great.
It's fantastic, and had I known that Brousseau was going to be like this, I would have probably picked him up in fantasy. But yeah, I think I've talked about my qualms about the Tampa Bay Rays having too many good players, which is not a bad thing. I mean, it obviously helped them in their 5-game series against the Rays, but it's like they don't have a consistent lineup for my liking. But yeah, if Brousseau can give me some more at bats, that'd be great. But maybe that's part of the allure of Sean, is that he's not exposed. That's part of the beauty about this Tampa Bay lineup, is that he doesn't get exposed too much. He only gets exposed to be in there at the right moments to his benefit.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me, Brousseau does, of who's the guy they had a couple years ago, had a real big one season. Daniel Robertson, I want to say is the name.
God, don't remind me.
And he's on the Giants now. And I think Tampa DFA'd him, which led to him getting traded over there. But it's like every year, it's like a different player for the Rays that is, used in a highly strategic role, only against this person, only in this type of pitcher, this handed type of pitcher, but they play multiple positions. So it feels like they're playing more than they actually are. So in like you said, in weekly fantasy, it's hard to use Rays players because they're in and out of the lineup so often. But in like daily or like Fantasy King, something like that, it's good to know, because when those guys are in, they're usually producing.
No, and Daniel Robertson, I was a big fan. I used them. I thought I had that season, whatever year that was.
I want to say like 17, was it? Maybe 16. Right,
but I thought I had all my problems solved, like with because he's multiple eligible. He's shortstop, second base, I think third base. I was like, yes, I got him, and then he went into a massive slump, but because he got up to such a really good start, all his in-season number for that year looked really good, like the high on-base percentage and the high WRC plus and the high WOBA. So he looked really good, but yeah, he was just slumping away. And by the time I realized that I had to cut him, it was too late for me. And so, yeah, those Rays players are a mirage. So as you can see, I'm still a little bit burnt by it. But man, they're perfect for real baseball. For fantasy baseball, as you mentioned, they're a little bit murky. So, but no, we're doing fine, man. We're doing fine. I'm getting ready for this league championship series. It should be a dandy. Well, I guess we should talk about it. You still like the Rays and Dodgers?
Yeah, I still like Rays Dodgers. Granted, I did see a stat from Sarah Lang on Twitter that the Rays throw like something like the highest percentage of breaking pitches in baseball. And of course, the team that has the highest batting average against breaking balls the last like 3 seasons or just this season is the Houston Astros. So I think the Astros' lack of pitching will be their undoing, but I'm never going to count them out. It's too much experience, too much talent. They could make a run here.
And I mean, you mentioned the pitching. It's like it's Band-Aids, staples, paper clips, bubble gum. That's their pitching staff now. And it's like, I remember when I use Vince and Dong City because I listened to that show, and they are really lambast the Astros, and Vince is on his high horse. Dong City, for those who don't know, is our Monday night baseball. I mean, you actually know. I mean, it's the most popular podcast in the life group universe, LGU, and
the LGU.
But yeah, he was like, the Astros are screwed. They watered down their talent because they were trying, and now they got nothing to show for it, and they're a bunch of cheaters, and their farm system is depleted. Well, guess what? All of these pitchers are from their farm system. All of the pitchers that showed up in these playoffs are homegrown talent that they had in their reserves, and now they're coming up big in the most important time of the year.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you said, don't count out the Astros. I mean, in terms of talent, offensively, we know the names: Correa, Bregman, Altuve, I guess to a lesser extent this year. But their pitching is just coming out of the woodwork, out of nowhere, just showing up and living up to that potential. And by the way, still no sign of Forrest Whitley.
Yeah, like I said, I am out on him across the board. I want nothing to do with him. I don't know. Maybe he's just like the pitching version of Kyle Tucker, and they do finally try and come back to him, but I don't know.
Well, we'll wait on the Astros. We talk about the Rays. Dodgers and Braves should be a lot better than I originally imagined. What we're seeing here is that the Braves, even though they have a weak pitching staff, they're coming up big at the right time. I mean, Ian Anderson, Max Fried, just oh my God! If you would have told me at the beginning of the year, or even last year, that Max Fried would be the Braves' default ace, I would have told you, wow, they must be in real trouble. And apparently, they're not in trouble. Everything's hunky dory in Braves land, and once you get to that bullpen, they're almost unstoppable. And we all know that they score in bunches. And then you got the Dodgers, who are as well balanced as a team as you'll ever find, with a little bit of questionable pitching. And I'm going to talk to you about it when we look at our WPA review, our wins probability added review. But what about that series, Sean? Are you still confident about the Dodgers advancing?
Yes. Max Fried, all credit to him. He has pitched his ass off. Ian Anderson has come up huge for them. But I think in the end, Fried has pitched very well, like I said, but he's pitched almost a little over his head. He gave up, I think, like one regular season home run, and we've seen how this ball has been flying in the postseason. And I think that he's bound to have a start where he gives up 3 home runs, especially against a Dodger lineup. Got a lot of great lefty killers in there. AJ Pollock had a really sneaky year and has always hit lefties well. Justin Turner, Chris Taylor, and Kike Hernandez, just off the bench guys that you can sub in, all have postseason experience. And I think that's going to be the determining factor here. This is the Dodgers, like fourth NLCS in the last 5 years, something crazy. It feels like. This is the Braves' first NLCS in 20 years. Oh, wow. Something. I mean, it's.
Jeez.
Yeah, I think the Dodgers, they have the better roster. They have the more experience. Their bullpen, though, the Braves, I think, might have an edge in the bullpen.
I think so too.
I have been sleeping on the Braves bullpen all season. But I still think there's enough talent in that Dodger bullpen. Blake Trinan, Pedro Baez, guys that you might not necessarily trust, but that can get it done.
Jake McGee, I thought he retired, and
he came back with the Dodgers this year
with a vengeance. Holy crap! I think he ended up being their best bullpen guy. Under the radar speaking or whatever. But yeah, if you look at the numbers, he can go toe to toe with anybody in this league this season. It's pretty amazing what they do over there.
I think now it's funny that you mentioned Jake McGee, because I did have him pulled up, and his Baseball Savant page is like one of those. He throws really hard, had a lot of strikeouts, and great expected ERA, expected batting average, but was one of those that when he did get hit, he got destroyed. Yeah. But his pitch mix, his four-seamer, he threw 96.4% of the time.
Hell yeah.
He threw 3% sliders. That's it.
Here, hit it if you can. What's that average velocity on that fastball?
95. So it's really not that hard. But for a 34-year-old who never really threw, I mean, he threw hard for a lefty. But the way that pitch count does break down, he has thrown 332 pitches. 320 of them have been fastballs.
It's pretty cool.
It's like Sean Doolittle. It's like Sean Doolittle all over again.
Yeah, no, that's a perfect example. But the 34-year-old, you're not expecting that. I mean, Sean Doolittle was a non-factor this year.
Yeah.
And he's getting up there in age. Meanwhile, Jake McGee's finding the fountain of youth in Los Angeles at 95 miles an hour for a left-handed pitcher. That's pretty damn high, though, I would have to say. I know it's not like, Aroldis Chapman, but no one can touch that guy. But unless you're Mike Brousseau, obviously. But Jake McGee, though, I mean,
it's his highest average fastball velocity since 2014, when he averaged 97 on his four seam.
Jesus Christ. Well, I mean, now he's in the playoffs, and he's probably one of the better relief pitchers for the Dodgers. Let's get a really quick prediction here, Sean. Rays and Astros, how many games?
Rays Astros 6. Rays in 6.
Okay. Actually, we do this in 6. All right. Now it's on the record. I think I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna agree with you on that one. I think 6 games sounds about right. I think the Astros can steal a couple of games. We've seen the fact that the Rays and Yankees. I know they're a big rivalry, but that was the only series I went to 5 games, and I think that just shows you how the starting rotation is pretty thin once you get past the big 3. So I think that Astros can take advantage of that, but once that's over with, I think that's all she wrote. What about the Dodgers and Braves?
I have Dodgers in 5 or 6. I'm gonna say 5.
All right.
My gut said 5, so
I'm gonna say 6 for the Dodgers. And I think what we've seen so far is that if you're a pretty good offensive team, you actually give your team a chance to compete. That whole notion about pitching and defense. Remember that's part of the allure that we went with, Sean, in our wild card predictions was. I think you and I basically picked what we thought were the better pitching and defensive teams, even though, like, for example, Cleveland.
Yeah.
Really good pitching and defense team, but their offense sucks. And as you can see, they got annihilated by the Yankees in the first round. So maybe it's like Harry Carey used to say, what's the point of having all this great pitching if you can't score runs? Him and Steve Stone used to argue about that all the time on the Cubs broadcast. And where Steve Stone would be like, oh, well, you need great pitching. That's why the Braves are one of the successful teams in the league. You mentioned 20 years has gone by since they've been to this league championship series. But Sean, I'll tell you what, there was a time where the Braves were regulars in.
Yep. They were the Dodgers of the 90s. It felt like
pretty much. And then Harry Carey would always rebut by saying, "Well, what do they got? They got nothing to show for it, though, because they can't run." So
no, I saw somewhere on Twitter that the Braves haven't been to the NLCS in so long or whatever, that it's actually been the last time the Braves lost 4 games in a postseason series was like however long ago, because they never made it out of the first round.
I mean, it's a
running. They got used to losing 3 games, but now they're going to have to lose 4.
It's a running joke, man. Vince Mercandetti over at the Dong City podcast, he reminds people how awful the Braves are in postseason action. And like the first round knockout is all but guaranteed with Atlanta. So you ready? Let's move on to the next thing. Are you ready to do some win probability added?
Yeah. Wepa,
as our Puerto Rican brethren would say. Yeah, like I said, I used to do this in the baseball group a long time ago. I haven't had the chance to do it. But back in the olden days, last year maybe, 2 years ago, I used to have people pick one hitter and one pitcher who would lead their team and win probability added, otherwise known as WPA, right? And the winner with the most combined total WPA got to pick the cover photo for that night. So it's a lot, but it's a lot to keep track of. So I haven't been able to do it, but we're doing recaps. And for those who don't know, win probability added, it's basically a storytelling stat. People are always talking about narratives and storylines. Well, here's your stat for you. Basically shows you which players showed up at the right moment, at the right time, and delivered. So right here, game 1, A's and Astros, used Mary Petit. Got the highest WPA for the Oakland Athletics.
The gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. I asked you a question. Will he ever retire? He's 35 years old now.
I don't know. He was one of the most trusted members of that bullpen outside of, Liam Hendricks. So as long as he's producing, he might just stick around.
I remember, was it the Giants and Nationals NLDS from was it 2014 maybe?
When he was with the Dodgers or with the Giants?
Yeah, and he just completely shut down the Nationals in extra innings, and it's like nothing fancy. It's just there's not like
him and Sergio Romo just will not go away.
Yeah, pretty much. And now they're both eliminated, so now they got extra time to rest up. And on the Astros side, it's a little known prospect named Enoli Paredes, who got the positive WPA for the Astros. 2 innings pitched. Wow, 2 innings pitched, 2 strikeouts, got the hold. Number 14 prospect for the Astros. Is he a future closer in your eyes?
I don't think so. I still think there's other options there. Ryan Presley seems like a guy they might actually hold on to. Blake Taylor had a good year for them, who was also a rookie. that they really do seem to like. I thought he outpitched his numbers. He had really poor strikeout to walk numbers, but Mets fans know Blake Taylor, or pretend to know that they knew Blake Taylor when he was involved in the Jake Marisnick trade. It was just Blake Taylor and a rookie ball outfielder for Jake Marisnick, and everyone freaked out because they traded 2 prospects and a relief pitcher who did pretty well. He had an ERA in the 2s, but he had nearly a 1-to-1 walks to strikeout, which is never good. And but everyone said, "Oh, Jake Marisnick played 16 games and you gave up 2 prospects for him." But nobody knew who Blake Taylor was. But he does have potential. He has a really good slider. I don't know. The Houston is going to need pitching. I don't know where they're going to get it from, but they've slowly developed several good pitchers. Framber Valdez, Jose Urquidy, guys that really have outperformed. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself.
You're jumping the gun, man.
Come yell! Don't yell at me.
Well, you know what? I don't think Jose Urquidy makes the list here. What were you going to say about Jose Urquidy?
It's just, he's one of those guys that Houston has produced that has been much better than anticipated. So
yeah, you're right about that. But we're going to see, that's going to be a theme for the Astros. And like I mentioned, it's like they're coming on at the right time. And I think you're seeing that really, to get back to our last segment, a couple of of bold predictions there. They got the Braves winning the NLCS. Our buddy Matt Bushnell from the Audible podcast is saying that the Astros are going to win in 7, and that video technology may or may not be used. Hard to tell, but it's like it's like I told you the other night, Sean. Hey, if they're cheating, they have a room on our squad, right? Because cheaters get all the glory, apparently. Next series, Yankees and Rays. Ryan Thompson, little known relief pitcher for the Rays. Even I haven't heard of Ryan Thompson until this series for some reason.
Oh well, you need to know of Ryan Thompson. Ryan Thompson is a fun guy. And you know why that is?
He's a mushroom.
He's no, yeah, no. Ryan Thompson. I just had it pulled up. If I cannot mess this up, here we go. Okay. I am going to share my screen. Oh, yes, okay. I know. Because I just want you guys to see it. I
stopped sharing my screen.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Yeah, for those in audio only, I do apologize, but you should be tuning in every Sunday morning. Join us at Baseball Life, the Facebook group, the best baseball Facebook group out there. So I don't know what I just said, but it sounds right.
Are you seeing the?
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
So look at this is the release point of all the pitchers in that game, I believe 4 loss that the Yankees ended up winning. But look at how the Rays, and this is something that they've been doing for the last few years, is really focusing not on, but like release angles and matching up left and right. And this Ryan Thompson is, borderline submariner. Here he is all along the far right-hand side, full sidearm. I mean, he comes at you at the funkiest angle, and then they come in with Ryan Yarborough, and I saw a tweet somewhere. I can't remember, so I can't credit it. But the distance between the 2 average release points was the largest that there's ever been in 2020. Wow. And it was just something that, Ryan Thompson opened that game. Yes, he was Yarborough's opener, and it's just interesting how they're doing that now, because you see all the way over here, and then by the end of the game, you're going to the left, and then you're going way up here.
Yeah.
So it's like they have a lot of verticality guys, Tyler Glasnow, Blake Snell, guys that really come right over the top at you, and they have the big hanging breaking balls because of it. But then they also have these weird right-handed loogies almost, like Ryan Thompson and Chaz Rowe, who come at you all the way on the side. And Ryan Thompson has the weirdest looking slider. Oh, it's witchcraft. He is a cool name. I don't think he's really, fantasy relevant or anything important like that. I don't see the potential being that high, but it's the strategic use of how they use him that is really, really interesting.
If I may, Sean, this is a perfect example. As I was saying, you guys got to watch live with us. I mean, the visuals that we can do for you when we do it live, or you can do it on YouTube, but it's not the same. Just, you should join us at the Baseball Live Facebook group and take a look at these visuals for those who are listening to audio only or listening to YouTube or whatever. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool stuff. And this is a perfect example of what I'm trying to do here, or I'm trying to share with everybody every week, is that it's not just a fantasy baseball podcast, but this is why we do it. Why do we care about Ryan Thompson? I mean, we kind of do because we do play in deep weird leagues where we reward holds and sometimes like some sort of like strikeout rates or whatever. But the other reason we do it is because we're just adamantly curious about this game of baseball, and that's pretty awesome that the Rays, we're taking a good look at what the Rays do to be successful on a very tight budget with seemingly no talent, as casual fans would think. I mean, that's pretty awesome, Sean. Thank you for sharing that the release point being so drastically different that it baffles opposing hitters. That's freaking amazing.
Especially when you pair it with something like, an opener and a primary pitcher. And that's why we saw guys like, Pete Fairbanks and who he might appear on this list. I feel like he had that really good one of the ended the game or something like that. But anyway, I digress.
We're gonna find out.
It's like Fairbanks, you bring in as an opener, and he's gonna just pump 99-mile-an-hour fastballs, and he like releases it right here at his ear. It's the weirdest like wind up and pitch, and then he throws an inning or gets 4 or 5 outs, and then you bring in Ryan Yarborough, who's just this like Tom Glavine. I'm looking like I'm throwing it really hard, but it's only coming at you at like 90 miles an hour. And he's just the king of soft contact. And the ball never goes straight with him. And it's just this kind of mixing and matching of different styles of pitching. And Howie Rose, Mets radio guy, he posted on Twitter. He said, I'm not, a dinosaur and I'm not ignorant. He says, but I feel like the opener is just overthinking baseball. And I replied, because he is a very intelligent man, and I said the old the Juan Marichal quote, or Juan Marichal or Bob Gibson, one of the two, that hitting is timing and pitching is disrupting that timing. Is there anything more disrupting than getting used to a guy who's throwing 99 from his ear, and then next thing you know, you have a lefty who's throwing from like 56 feet away because he's like 6'6", but he's only actually throwing 88, but it appears to be much faster with all of this movement. That would disrupt the hell out of me. That's what I know.
That's like I tell people, man, Total Basis podcast where reality meets fantasy and fantasy meets reality. That's a perfect example right there. Speaking of reality and fantasy, Zach Britton, former fantasy relevant pitcher, now, just a very important piece in that Yankees bullpen, got the high whippa in game 1 inning pitch, got the hole. And I guess question for you, will he opt out after 2020, after the season, I guess?
Is it an opt-out that he has, or is he just a straight free agent?
Something I saw on his spot rack page, I think it's called spotrack.com, I believe. Some sort of opt-out. I think it's a player option.
Oh, yeah, player opt-out available after 2020. He could, but then we go back to what we talked about last week, and I regurgitated Eno Saris's prediction that all the players that are eligible to opt out in 2020, none of them will. I think he sticks around, because I don't want to say Aroldis Chapman's job is up for grabs, but I feel like Zach Britton could make a move for it. I mean, he has the experience. And he hasn't been as good as he was in Baltimore, but he could still be the closer.
Yeah,
so I think he sticks around.
I think so too, but it's the fact that he's not going to be the closer, and that there's probably more money if he goes somewhere and becomes a team's primary closer. But maybe there is something to what Eno Sarris says, that maybe players are like, well, the contracts are guaranteed, so I'll take the guaranteed money.
Yeah.
Move on to day 2. I mean, this is great. Every day there was baseball. It's freaking fantastic. And game 2, Oakland and Houston. Throwing you a curveball here, so to speak, Sean, as I'm also posting negative WPA, players that really dropped the ball, pun intended, I guess. Oakland Athletics, Sean Manaea, who is a player that I really dislike just because he's so there. But yeah, he got tattooed by the Astros, as you can see from the negative WPA. 4 1/3 innings pitched, 2 home runs allowed. Say something nice about Sean Manaea, Sean.
Didn't we kind of call this? I mean, we said like if he's your game 1 or game 2 starter and he's barely breaking 90, and he just ever since that shoulder injury, he's never been the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I think Oakland's just trying to recapture something that's not there.
Yep. Yeah. Well, here's something nice about him. His name is also Sean. So
hey.
So I'm pretty sure you'll appreciate that. So that's Sean Manaea. I don't like him. You don't like him. No one likes Sean Manaea except for Oakland Athletics. I'll tell you what, he's in the right ballpark. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely his. If he's going to pitch anywhere, it's there.
And you mentioned this guy earlier, and this is one of the pitchers I was indirectly talking about, Framber Valdez, who, if you look at his Statcast page, it's some sort of shade of blue with some hint of red. So it's pretty more violet than anything, but it's more blue than red. And then you look at his production numbers, and it's like, how is he being this successful? He's been pretty damn good in this playoff. In game 2, he threw for 7 innings pitch. What is this? 2006? 7 innings pitch, 4 strikeouts. He did allow 2 home runs because it is 2020. But why is he so successful despite the fact that his Statcast numbers show otherwise?
Because if you do look at the Statcast page, you are going to see mainly light blue with a little bit of light red. He was above average when it came to expected ERA, K percentage. But when it came to hard hit rate and exit velocity, like we see with a lot of these guys that do miss bats, when they don't miss the bats, they give it up hard. But the one thing that is blood red on Framber Valdez's Statcast page is the spin rate on his curveball. Tell me if you've heard this before. A Houston Astro that is leading the league in spin rate on one of their pitches. Wow, I have never heard that before. But he is successful because he has one of the best curveballs in baseball. I want to say he finished in the top 5 in strikeouts with the curveball in 2020. Posted a whiff rate of 42%. He's a lefty that, throws 93, 94, 95 with the fastball, but that curveball is the bread and butter that, if you have a good breaking ball, and he's always had it, and you can consistently throw it for strikes, which was kind of an issue with him. If he throws strikes, he's a good pitcher. And it's all about getting that breaking ball over for a strike, because he can't just live on his fastball in the zone, because it's gotten to the point where when he does struggle, it's when he doesn't get the breaking ball in for a strike. And so they know, hey, if he's throwing his breaking ball, it's not going to stay in the zone, and they know to lay off of it. And then they'll just crush the 92, 93 fastball. But when he can throw it for both a strike and to get you to chase, that's when he's at his best. And like I said, a Houston Astros pitcher with a high spin rate curveball that's doing well, better than we expected. I never knew that was going to happen. It's totally never happened before, right?
It's like a factory down there in Houston. Oh, but they cheat. I mean, you got to say something about even without the cheating. I mean, that was one of the more successful Major League Baseball franchises, and you saw that everybody saw what they did and immediately started copying them. It's a copycat league, right? And everybody started to tank, and we saw a bunch of teams not even try, even though they were just a few games behind playoff spot. They decided, no, we're just going to be like the Houston Astros and tank, even though we're at 500. And it was really frustrating. So maybe that's the one good thing about, well, I'm sorry, it's not the one good thing. It's a thing that I've been saying for a long time now. When you expand playoffs like this, then you can't have anybody tank anymore.
Yeah.
Because you'd be stupid not to try to make the playoffs. And look at the Astros. They're a perfect example. They were counted out numerous times by numerous people, and now they're in the ALCS.
Yep.
With a chance to go to the World Series and spoil the Andrew Friedman World Series that we all deserve. Speaking of Andrew Friedman and his former team, Nick Anderson, the former Orlando Magic player, now turned pitcher. 2 innings pitch, got the hold, 4 strikeouts, Sean. Is he worth drafting next year to get saves?
So if you're aiming for solely saves, probably not. But his other stats are so good that even if he gets less saves because he's a raised pitcher and they don't believe in tradition, he had 26 strikeouts in 16 innings this year, a whip of .49. That's insanity. He has one of the best curveballs in the game. He's another one of those right over the top, big old breaking curveball. And I know this was only game 2 for him, but what he did in game 5 was nothing short of what I would call heroic when it comes to baseball, at least as heroic as a baseball player can be. Going out there, being used to, late innings, closing the game, and he comes on in the 3rd inning in relief of Tyler Glasnow, who also, props to him. He had 2 days rest and went out there and threw, almost 40 pitches. Kudos to him, but also kudos to Nick Anderson, because he ended up throwing, I want to say, a career high in pitches, or at least for the season, and threw close to 40 pitches. So, great pitcher. No wonder they were the first one they turned to in that pivotal game 5.
No, I mean, he's been the goods all year long. It's just a shame. It's just a shame that he's with the Rays and he doesn't get the fantasy notoriety. I mean, I think he's still at the team in saves. 19. I'm sorry, no. Well, he got 6 saves. I thought he had 14, but no, he had 6 saves. He was being strategically used by the Tampa Bay Rays all season long. And it's a shame that closers, or not even closers, sorry, relief pitchers only get notoriety if they are out there getting saves when you just said.
I mean, he would have been fantasy relevant this year, even with the 6 saves, because he not only had 6 saves, he had 6 holds. He had 2 wins as well. So in the 19 games he was in, he got some sort of scoring decision in 14 of them. So
I'm just saying, well, in traditional 5x5, it's most people are going to look at Nick Anderson like, oh man, that's a nice pitcher, but he's kind of worthless on my team when there's Rowan Wick who gets more saves opportunities.
Yeah, I mean there were 12 there were 12 Rays who collected saves this year. That was I want to say a record of some sort.
In a league like yours and mine that we do, where we do all these other stats, pick a Rays pitcher, any Rays pitcher, you're going to go home happy. I'm a big Diego Castillo fan myself.
Yep. But he was second on the team in saves.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. But if you're and he closed out the Yankees in game 5, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But if you're in a league like in my fantasy points league where saves, you get 10 points for a save. I mean, Nick Anderson's kind of pointless to have. It's a nice to have, but not a must-have player. And then, like I said, 5x5, it's a shame. And then casual fans, they see like 6 saves when they've seen they see the saves leaders, and I don't know who the saves leader is off the top of my head this season in 2020, but I know it's not Nick Anderson. So that's a shame. Speaking of shame, go ahead.
Saves leader was Brad Hand. He had 16.
Yeah,
and then Liam Hendricks at 14, Josh Hader at 13, even though he only pitched 19 innings. He actually had I mean, he started off the season and he had 9 or 10 innings where he hadn't given up a hit yet, but then he walked 4 guys and blew the game. And I don't want to say Josh Hader had a down fantasy year, but he kind of did.
And there has to be a better way aside from holds.
And that was the most they've used him as solely a closer. The Brewers did. They didn't use him out in that fireman role. And when in the fireman role, we all complained, oh, why doesn't he get more save opportunities? Why doesn't he get more save opportunities? And then when he gets all the save opportunities, he's not the same pitcher. So.
But we talked about the Brewers being loaded. I mean, this year they were able to do that because of guys like Devin Williams.
Yeah, Devin Williams just took that role and ran with it.
So they were able to just have Hader be in the 9th inning role like fantasy leaguers want him to be. But we talked about it numerous times throughout the year, how deep the Brewers bullpen was and how much I liked them. And unfortunately, it didn't amount to anything in the playoffs, but them's the breaks. But yeah, I was going to say there has to be a better way to gauge success for relief pitchers as they're becoming more and more prominent in this modern baseball and members of modern baseball. J.A. Happ, negative 0.27 WIPA. 2 2/3 innings pitched, 2 home runs allowed, 4 earned runs. Where do you target him for next season? I mean, he had a pretty decent year, or better than decent year this year. But where do you target him in draft?
I don't. I think I'd much rather go with a high upside pick than a J-Happ. And I mean, I know in a traditional 5x5, he's going to have value because he's going to win games if he pitches like he did. But I'd much rather chase upside.
Yeah, and he's a free agent, so it really depends. I guess he's a free agent because he had a vesting option where he had to meet certain parameters, and I believe one of them was game starts. He had to get to 10 game starts, and he only got to 9. So I don't know if the Yankees are gonna be feeling charitable and pick up that option.
Yeah.
But some positives about him as I'm looking here. 1.05 whip, walks and hits per innings pitch. So, and I know he had a low ERA. If I could find it on this sheet here, it was 3.47 ERA, which is not too bad. So, some teams going to look at that. And if he doesn't come back to the Yankees, there's some teams going to look at those two items and they're going to be like, wow, he looked good in our rotation. And it's probably going to be a contending team. And he's going to get you some cheap wins.
I mean, he's 38 years old.
Yes, sir.
The Astros, I don't know. Are they going to be that desperate for arms that they try and do what they did for Charlie Morton or something? I don't know.
No, man, they're just gonna go into their farm system factory and just pull another pitcher out of the butt.
Gonna take one off the assembly line early.
Yeah, they're gonna see. Well, they're using an assembly line like Henry Ford. That's cheating, guys. That's cheating. Anyway, Max Fried, we talked about him. Did not have the best of games according to WIPA. By the way, there's these stats on top of the page here: the exit velocity, hard hit rate, WOBA, expected WOBA. Just a sampling of what you could find in their Statcast page for 2020. Obviously, exit velocity is how hard the ball left your bat. Hard hit rate is the description used by Statcast, not to be confused with hard hit rate that Fangraphs uses. That they're totally different. What was it? WOBA, weighted on base average. That's basically the all-inclusive statistic that does not offensive statistic that does not include things like league averages and ballpark factors, but just production-wise, doubles, triples, all in one stat to look like a batting average. And then expected WOBA is, well, if all things were equal, what would this person's expected WOBA be? And why are we
based on their batted ball data and et cetera?
Now you're asking, why are we using this for pitchers? Well, because as you can see, Max Fried had a 272 WOBA against, but like you mentioned, the expected batted ball data suggests that it should have been lower than that.
Yeah, he was the king of soft contact this year, as you can tell by his average 83.4 exit velo. That was one of the best in baseball. He really did blossom this year. We'll see how well it holds up.
Well, that's why I want to ask. I mean, he pitched for 4 innings, gave up 4 earned runs, 4 strikeouts. I mean, if this was poker, he'd be in good shape. But is he a top 36 starting pitcher? And for those, I'm using 36 because you would think that in a 12-team league, Sean, you want at least 3 of those pitchers in the top 36, right? I mean, that would consist of three top pitchers right there. Does he crack that list of top 36 for next year?
I think most people will pick him in the top 36. If I do draft him, it will not be early. I just think the price for him after this season is going to be too high, and I'm just not willing to pay up for that price.
Sandy Alcantara was his pitching counterpart that game, also a negative WIPA, just like Max Fried. There's the Statcast numbers, and here's the result: 6 innings pitched, 8 strikeouts, but he gave up 5 earned runs. But you talked about it before, or you touched upon it before. How excited are you for him in 2021?
I feel like he keeps building little by little, and it's hard for us to see a lot of the improvements because we just want it to be there already. Yeah. But he's still only 25, and I feel like he's learning more and more how to pitch rather than just throw. And we're seeing, decreased walk rates. I'm trying to see if I can find it. But I want to say his walk rate. Yeah, his walk rate was the lowest it's been. It was down to 8.7% this year. Strikeout rate went back up over 20%. So not great, but I feel like him and Sixto Sanchez double barrel action is going to be wrecking havoc in the National League East for the next few years.
Let's see here. Moving on to Walker Buehler in the Dodgers and Padres series. Walker Buehler, Texas Ranger, 0.07 WIPA, good but not overly impressive, as he only pitched 4 innings, 8 strikeouts, 4 walks. And then Dustin May, I believe, came in as they continue to piggyback these pitchers. Will he ever be a dominant starting pitcher? And I asked that question to you, Sean, is because I believe I did have him in my top 10 coming into 2020. And that was before COVID, obviously. But, I mean, there's a lot to like here, the upside, the fastball. But it seems like they're just continue to baby him. Basically, they're treating him like Julio Urias.
Yeah.
But, we expect a lot more, a lot quicker out of Walker Buehler. Will 2021 be that year where he could be that dominant starting pitcher?
I don't trust him to throw enough to be a dominant, especially in a 5x5 league where, I mean, just taking the mound every time and going out there and giving 5, 6, 7 innings, that's valuable, even if, you're not striking out the world. But as long as you're going deep, because if you go deep into games, you have a higher chance of winning the game, or at least just getting a decision, win or lose, especially if you're good. And that's why someone like Marco Gonzalez, nobody's like excited to draft Marco Gonzalez. But guess what? He goes up there every 5th day. He throws like 6 or 7 innings. And when he's on the mound, the Mariners usually win. Yeah, he has a couple of clunkers in his season. ERA ends up being like 3.5 or 4. But he'll be toward the league lead in innings pitched. Like, he's not the sexy option, but he's the producing option. And Walker Buehler has all the talent in the world. Like you said, great fastball curveball combo. But the kid gloves, it's like I thought that they were coming off last year.
Yeah.
But then in this weird pandemic season where he's only going to have thrown, 30, 50 innings, 36 in the regular season. By the time postseason's over, probably close to 50 or 60. And it's like last year was his career high at 182. Before that, 137. It's like, where do they bring him back up? Because if they treat him how we've seen them treat him, he's not going to throw 180 innings immediately. And if he's throwing something like 150, I think he becomes less valuable.
Jesus, that's a shame. It's a shame. And it's like,
this is going to be a problem across the league. It's just, I'm more worried about Buehler because of how they've handled him in the past.
And it's not just Buehler, but it's also Tony Gonsolin, Dustin May. You saw with Ross Stripling, and now he's gone. But and Julio Urias, who you'll see in a bit why I'm a little bit more optimistic about Urias than I am about Buehler. But I think that's the Dodgers' way, unfortunately, and it's very frustrating because we see the talent that they have, and it's like, when are we going to see the fantasy results? I mean, we're selfish, right? We want to see the fantasy results, but as baseball fans, we clamor for it. We want to see our starting pitchers go 5, 6 innings pitch, or at least get out of a couple of jams and not, go to the bullpen in the first 3 or 4 innings every time the kids get in trouble. I know you're trying to preserve the arms, and time will tell if they're right. But I mean, they did that with Ross Stripling, with the kid's glove, as you mentioned, and now he's gone. So what was the point of it all?
Yeah,
I'm thinking to myself.
It's tough.
On the other side of the spectrum, Pierce Johnson. Oh, the Cubs don't know how to produce starting pitchers. They don't know how to produce pitchers. Here's one right here, Pierce Johnson. Sure, he had command issues with the Cubs, but now he's, I think I saw on his StatCast page that he's throwing 97-mile-per-hour fastballs and curveballs only, Sean. 58% curveballs, if I remember correctly. 58%.
Yeah, 54 on the curveball, 54%, and then 43% sinkers.
Oh, that's lovely. But here's what he did in game 1 to start this series. 1 1/3 pitch, 2 strikeouts. Is there any fantasy value here with Pierce Johnson?
I mean, if he's throwing, as hard as he is now, average 96.3 on the sinker. The curve had a whiff rate of almost 50%. I mean, that's an elite weapon, which led to him having the 97th percentile in whiff percentage overall. Gets great spin on his curveball, pretty good spin on the fastball, but it's a sinker, so we don't really care about spin rate there as much. Lots of red, and
Yep.
Brad Hand is a free agent, I think, or he is a free agent after next year. I'd have to look, but I still think that Drew Pomeranz is going to be the guy that San Diego goes to as their main closer when Hand leaves.
Wait, you're talking about Trevor Rosenthal, not Brad Hand. Brad Hand's with the Cleveland Indians.
Oh, yeah, no, not Hand. Kirby Yates. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Kirby Yates and Trevor Rosenthal. You gotta. Okay, I'll look those up.
But if Pomeranz becomes the closer, which I could see happening because they invested a lot of money into him, Maybe Pierce Johnson becomes that fireman and kind of picks up a lot of holds, a lot of saves, second on the team in saves. I mean, we just know that the team's gonna win. So yeah, Kirby Yates is a free agent. So
Kirby Yates is a free agent. Trevor Rosenthal's a free agent, and I think you mentioned Pomeranz signed that deal with them, right?
I could see Pomeranz ascending to the closer, and Pierce Johnson maybe gets a higher leverage role, which would make him fantasy relevant.
And or just like all the other pitchers out of the Padres bullpen, he ends up with Cleveland anyway. So
yeah,
that seems position. As you guys heard me all year long. I love this Padres bullpen, and Pierce Johnson was a big factor in it. Brad Hand, just out of curiosity, because he kept mentioning him by accident, because he's a former Padres.
Yeah, him and Kirby Yates, they all run together.
Yeah, they're basically the same person, except that one's left-handed and the other one's injured. 2021, he has a club option, so they can all be free agents. Rosenthal, Kirby Yates, Brad Hand. Should we go with Emilio Pagan? Where is he going? Is he still in the league? Is he still with the Padres? I mean, I should say, come on, computer, let's see what the results are.
Pagan was there, but he was like, oh God, you didn't know what you were going to get when he went out there. His velocity was down this year. I don't know. It was weird.
I don't know. Pagan, arbitration 1 eligible this year. So there you go.
Yeah, he's team control. I could have told you that.
Oh, well, you didn't.
I'm sorry. I thought you were just making sure he was still on the team.
He's on the team for next year. Oh, man. I think I messed up. I forgot to filter my notes, but that's okay. I'm not sorting anything. So just remind me not to sort anything.
Okay.
Yeah, this looks right? Okay, yeah, this looks right. Yeah. Okay. Masahiro Tanaka, game 3, -0.28. The great Yankees player. 4 innings pitched, 5 earned runs, 4 strikeouts. Remember, the thing about Tanaka is that he comes big in the playoffs. Well, he denied this one. I believe he's a free agent. Yankee fans are fighting amongst themselves, trying to figure out where is he playing next year. Sean, will he come back with the Yankees or nah?
I think he goes elsewhere. I could see possibly the West Coast. Angels always need pitching. I could also see, and this was like a random thing that popped in my head, like Detroit maybe. Just kind of, go in there, big ballpark, maybe have a couple more years left in them, I don't know. Either way, it's we're heading towards the last few chapters of the Tanaka book, and I don't want to say he was a disappointment, but with the hype that he had coming in and the money he was paid, it's hard to think that he's not anything but a little bit of a disappointment.
I had a feeling. I wrote an article about it back when I was writing articles about things back from sports.com, and they asked me, hey, can you write a piece about Masahiro Tanaka? And let me tell you, it's really hard to write anything about any pitcher from Japan when the information is not as readily available out there. But, I mean, he came in with the Yankees with a lot of miles on that arm.
Yeah.
But supposedly he had the best split finger fastball in the world, and I think he proved that he did. And he did show up big when it mattered most, and he also pitch hurt. I think there was a year where he was supposed to get Tommy John surgery, and because he still
has a partially torn UCL.
Yeah, and again, because he's
him and Seth Lugo are like that. They've just they kept pitching.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because he's Japanese, they're like, no surgery for me, and he kept pitching through it. And every time I see him pitch, I cringe, because I can only imagine the discomfort he's feeling. I mean, it hurts to watch him pitch, not because he's like, he's bad, but it's because I know that what's going on in his elbow. But hey, like you said, maybe he'll go to the Tigers, and him and Jordan Zimmerman can share something. I don't know.
Share tales about how they robbed $200 million from teams. The $200 million bandits.
Oh man.
But it's, I do think there is something still to Tanaka. Because the last few years he's, thrown the splitter less and the slider more. And the slider's actually been a really good pitch for him. It's just that fastball I'm shocked to see that it had a 30% whiff rate this year, but it also had a batting average against of 350 and a slugging of 650 against. I mean, his fastball just gets crushed. He averaged 92. It just doesn't fool anybody, I guess.
Yeah.
But maybe he threw the slider 37% of the time this year, split finger 24%, and the four seam 24%. So it's just one of those, maybe they go full Dylan Bundy and, have him throw that slider a bunch and throw the splitter a bunch. Like, I'm talking 35% for both.
Mhm.
And then maybe just try and ditch the four seamer and just try and pitch to contact. I don't know. Because the sinker actually wasn't terrible this year. He threw it 8% of the time. Only a 214 batting average against. Got a little lucky, though. Should have been 280 according to XBA. But I think there's enough tools there. And he's professional enough. He knows how to pitch. He's,
Yeah.
not going to blow it past you, but he knows how to approach hitters. And while he might not be the best pitcher, he is definitely a serviceable pitcher. And he eats innings for as long as we've known him for the last 4 or 5 seasons. I mean, he gets innings, and that's valuable to teams.
Quick question. By the way, Tanaka will be 32 in November. Quick
And
question
that's younger than I would have guessed.
Yeah, like I said, miles, man. He came in from Japan with lots of miles, and you saw how rapidly and exponentially he aged in New York, and not because of his actual age, but just because of all the innings he's pitched, all the wear and tear. I mean, you see it. Eye test, right? But let me ask you a quick question here. Lightning round style. Tanaka or Marco Gonzalez for next year?
Marco Gonzalez.
All right. I like that answer. Charlie Morton. Decent game, 0.09 whippa. That's a lot better than I expected. I feel like he's pitching hurt, but in this game 3, 5 innings pitch, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks. I mean, that's pretty damn good numbers right there. But is he a top 10 starting pitcher in 21? And I ask you this, Sean, is because I had him in my top 10, and I think I even picked him as a ace in the newbie league, which kind of burned me at the end. But what do you think about Charlie Morton as an elite starting pitcher next year?
Well, I believe he is a free agent.
First and foremost,
was it a 2 or a 3 year deal that he signed when he came to Tampa?
I don't remember, but I'll look it up. Go ahead and
he's always had an issue staying on the field. Tampa, when they brought him in last year, they babied him, even though he's at 35, 36 years old. He still ended up throwing 194 innings in 2019, but it seems like they always would pull him when they didn't have to. And just the advanced age, everything did kind of take a step back this year. I do think he was pitching hurt as well, but that's something we have to take into account, that at 36 years old, your ability to rebound from injury isn't the same as when you were 26 years old. So I'm fading Charlie Morton. Somebody made him available in my 30-team dynasty league, and I needed starting pitching, but I wasn't going to break the bank because he was still on the IL at the time. And this guy asked for like 2 prospects for me, and I'm like, nah, I can't do it. And he ended up trading him and got back Oviedo, who's the Cardinals' young pitcher that debuted this year, and like 1 other prospect, like not even in their team's top 10. And I'm just like, well, damn, maybe I should have traded one of my lower prospects for him then. But
no,
that seems to be the trend on him is very much trending down.
I would have told you to just pull the trigger on a low-level prospect, at least one low-level prospect on Charlie Morton, because I think the world of Charlie Morton, but you're right. By the way, he does have a vested option, which consisted of him being healthy in 2020, and he was not. So let's see here. 2021 vesting option de-escalates based on health through 2020. 30 DL days or less across 2019 and 2020, he gets $15 million. If it's between 31 and 90 days on the IL, 10 million, and so on and so forth. If it's 200 days or more on the IL, then 1 million. So it's pretty.
So I think he's going to be in that middle one, where if they want him back, it'll be for 10 million, I guess.
Yeah,
that's new. I did not know he had a deal like that.
Yeah, and then he becomes a free agent at the age of 38 years old in 2022. I'm pretty sure he's hoping to catch some of that Adam Wainwright magic as well. Moving on, game 3 of the A's and Astros. Josh James, man, what the hell? Negative 0.34 whippa, win probability added. 1 inning pitch, 3 earned runs. Really quick, let me get on my little rant here. Josh James was a darling in the last 2 off seasons, not just as a relief pitcher, but as a potential starting pitcher. And every time he's been given a chance to be a starting pitcher, I feel like he's just been laying an egg on this one. And I ask you, Sean, what do you make of Josh James coming into next season?
I might actually buy in at this price.
Yes.
It's gonna, like, this is the smart thing to do in fantasy, people. When people have down seasons And because last year the hype was real high on Josh James. Even, I mean, we didn't know if he was going to start or be in the bullpen. Obviously, if he was starting, everyone wanted him. If he was in the bullpen, we were kind of less so, but we knew the potential was there
Right.
because he has great stuff, but he has no clue where it's going. Last year, we kind of glossed over it, but he had a 13.2% walk rate, which was bottom 5% of the league. But he also had a top 2 strikeout rate, which was almost like 38%. This year, the strikeouts came down and the walks went up. He had a 20% walk rate. You can't do that. You just can't. So unless he learns how to, it's like fastball command seems to be there, but everything else he has no clue where it's going.
And
So
speaking of
until he does, and then it's hard to pick.
And speaking of no clue, I mean, I'm highlighting some of the StatCast numbers here for Josh James. Exit velocity and hard hit rate. That's what you want from your pitchers, even relief pitchers, especially relief pitchers, I should say. 85.4 exit velocity, 30.2 hard hit rate. And then you get to the WOBA, which is what are hitters doing against him. 384 WOBA, which is probably the highest I've seen.
Yeah, it's because he walks so many hitters.
Yeah. And 389 expected WOBA. So it's not like, oh, well, if the batted ball data could just be a little bit more in his favor. So it's not even luck. It's all him.
No, he had very good batted ball data. I mean, 92nd percentile exit velocity, 87th percentile in hard hit rate, was the best it's been the last 2 years. It's just he walks 17 batters in 17 innings. I mean, you can't do that.
Hurt, yeah. Again, it's on base average. So, yeah.
It takes into account walks and, yeah.
On the opposite side of the spectrum, you got a guy who does not have a high WOBA against and a low hard hit rate, but his exit velocity is high, and that's Liam Hendriks of the A's, who has a very high WIPA in Game 3, 0.28. I think this is the game that the A's. This saved the A's season from a sweep, right?
Yeah.
This one will go to 4 games, but in this game, Liam Hendriks pitched the last 3 innings of this game, 3 innings pitched, 4 strikeouts, 1 win. Last-ditch effort for the Oakland Athletics to salvage their year. And I got to ask, because he's been overused in this playoff, Sean. Will overuse in this playoff series, in this playoff season, affect them next year?
I would like to say no. I feel like overuse of starting pitchers in the postseason can really have an effect. And we saw that like even with the first 6 months off, Patrick Corbin came out and Patrick Corbin looked done. Like, honestly, he was not throwing the ball like he does. His fastball, which was never great, but it usually sat like 93, was sitting 89, 90, which is worrisome with that big contract they gave him. But I feel like relief pitchers rebound a little bit more. They're used to kind of going multiple days. Obviously, he threw 3 innings, but I don't know. He's been really good. And I think he solidified himself as the best closer in baseball.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my original question. Is he the best closer for next year? But then you got to compete against Josh Hader, Aroldis Chapman, Kenley Jansen to a lesser degree. But yeah, Hendricks would be that guy unless the Oakland Athletics decide that, oh, you know what, he's going to be our fireman, and then we're going to have I don't know, Blake. I'm sorry, not Blake Trainer. I don't know, JB Weckendeckle or whatever.
Wendelken, something like that.
Wendelken will be our closer, and that's going to piss me off because Hendricks has proven to be one of the best relief pitchers in the game of baseball in the last couple of years. Let's see here. Oh wow, I didn't realize we were running on time here. Really quick lightning round stuff here, Sean. So we're gonna have to put the analysis to the side. Ian Anderson, we talked about him before. How he's kind of been like the savior of the last of the Braves starting pitchers. Really quick, top 36 starting pitcher next year, yes or no?
Right at the very end, I would say top 40 or top 50. I'm not sure if I'm ready to say 35, 36, but I'm definitely top 50.
This is game 2. The stat line was 5 2/3, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk, 3 hits allowed. Very good game by Ian. Very good playoff series so far for Ian Anderson. Pablo Lopez, that's a guy we talked a lot in the last year or so. 5 innings pitched, 7 strikeouts, 0 walks. The Marlins lost this game, but I'm not going to blame Pablo Lopez for it. Same question to you, Sean.
Yes, I am taking Pablo Lopez in the top 36. He's actually someone I'm very high on.
That warms my heart because I've always been a big fan of Pablo Lopez, but wrong team. Bruce Stark with I can't say his name. What's his Bruce Stark Gratterall?
Gratterall, yeah.
Gratterall. Remember, he was involved in that very controversial trade this offseason. I think that was the one that involved Mookie Betts, right?
Yes.
Well, this is what he did in game 2. 1 1/3.
Well, it was supposed to be, and then because Gratterall came over from the Twins, it used to just be, and then it ended up being a straight Maeda for Gratterall.
That's what it was.
Because it was supposed to be the 3-way, and it, yeah.
Yeah. 1 1/3, 1 hold. Is he a future closer in the making in your eyes?
I think you should be closing games for them right now.
Yes, there you go. And what do we do about Kenley Jansen? Screw him, right?
Kick him to the curb.
Kick him to the curb.
It's easy for non-Dodgers fans to say, because I can see how Dodgers fans, but they don't want to give up on their closer. But Jansen looks done. Gratterall, I mean, Jansen could always maybe recover, and he's younger than I think.
But again, high usage rate, man.
Yeah,
I mean, he's gone through playoffs. And a really quick question: if you kick Jansen to the curve, is that even possible? Does he even have a curveball?
No, he has the cutter, which he threw 62, sinkers 28, and then slider 10%. Looking at his StatCast page, maybe Kenley Jansen isn't done, but it's like that velocity keeps backing up on the cutter, and that worries me, because he averaged 90.9 on the cutter this year, and that's worrisome to me.
That is very concerning, but Dodgers fans are not worried about it until he gives up a 3-run home run in the World Series to lose the World Series for the Dodgers. Zach Davies, former Brewers prospect, now with the Padres. He's a Padres problem now, negative .24. He got to 5 innings, but he did give up 4 earned runs. He did strike out 3, took the loss. What is he good for?
He is one of those potential inning eaters on a really good team. And it was so weird that he struggled so much in the postseason. Well, one of the things, he's usually very good at limiting walks. And I want to say he only had, in the entire season, had 19 walks or something like that. And then in the postseason, where can I pull it up? It's postseason cumulative. He walked a bunch, or maybe I have the wrong guy. It's only saying 5 walks, but I want to say, like, in one of the games he had 5 walks in the first game. I can't remember. I thought it was Davies. It might not have been, but
at any rate,
I think he could eat innings. He's real boring, but
Yeah. Oh, let me ask you this question: Marco Gonzalez or Zach Davies?
Marco Gonzalez.
Okay, you see what I'm doing here. I'm just doing a running gag. The answer is always going to be Marco Gonzalez, I think. Okay, we got Chad Green, a bullpen guy, 2 innings pitched, 2 strikeouts, 1 win. Bullpen ace. And I'm going to stop asking you questions for all of these guys. I'm just going to go and pick and choose. Ryan Yarbrough, we talked about it, 5 innings pitched, 6 hits allowed, 1 home run allowed, 2 earned runs. I think they still lost the game. But, I think you already talked about what made him successful. Christian Javier to close out the Astros and A's game, game 4. 2 1/3, 1 win, 4 strikeouts. Are you targeting Christian Javier next year?
Yes, he has the ability to miss bats, and that is something I will always look for.
Pick every Astros pitcher out there next year, guys. Frankie Montas, not a good game for him. The former White Sox farmhand, the formerly suspended PED user. 3 2/3, 1 loss, 3 strikeouts, 5 earned. The falling stock here, or
I was actually watching that game, and he looked I don't want to say really good. He looked pretty good in the first 3 innings. I think he had only given up 1 or 2 runs, and then the sky caved in. He gave up a 3-run home run in that 4th inning to Carlos Correa. It's just the thing that he did that made him great last season. He introduced that splitter and really just threw it a lot. And then this year, he still used it, but I want to say the usage on it was down. So if the splitter's gone, and we've seen pitchers do this before, Jairus Familia brought in a splitter, and then next thing you know, the splitter was gone, and then it's back again. It's, his splitter usage was down from 20% last year to just over 12%. I don't think his breaking ball is good enough. His slider is good enough to just get by sinker, slider, 4-seam. He needs to use that splitter more and more.
Sixto Sanchez, another guy we talked about, did not have a good game. 3 innings pitched, 4 hits allowed, 4 earned runs, 2 strikeouts, 3 big walks. But we talked about him. You think the world of him. I think everybody thinks the world of him. I think he's still the Marlins' #1 prospect. at this point. So this is just hopefully just a bad game and what can be a really good career for him. We'll see.
Yeah.
Kyle Wright,
perfect ballpark too.
Yeah, Kyle Wright, we talked about as one of the failing starting pitchers for the Atlanta Braves. Well, he made me eat it long and hard. 6 innings pitched, 7 strikeouts, 2 walks, 3 hits allowed. Does Atlanta have their trio of aces with Max Fried, Ian Anderson, and Kyle Wright to make you think, wow, this is Glavin, Maddox, and Smoltz all over again?
Yeah, I don't think Wright's that good. I think he had a good start. I think he has talent. I'm not sure if he's as good as he's definitely behind Fried, Anderson, and Soroka for me. This is a guy, he made multiple starts down the stretch in 2020, and he's just, I think before the postseason started, he's like a 5 ERA guy. Maybe he's Nick Pivetta. He's talented and just can't figure it out.
It's a joke I made right there, because one of our Braves fans in the Baseball Life baseball group, Facebook group, Pedro, I think he's from Florida, posted something about how Max Fried and Ian Anderson are basically Greg Maddux or Tom Glavine and Josh Smoltz, and like, hey, slow down there, partner. Let's not do that. And why not? Because they're Hall of Fame pitchers, and these guys are not. Adrian Morejon, which is a name we keep hearing about from the Padres, he got not a very good performance here. 2 innings pitched to close out the game, the series against the Dodgers. 2 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, 2 strikeouts and walks, took the loss. Any chance he cracks the starting rotation next year, Sean?
I think there's a chance. I just think there's a lot of other options. Mackenzie Gore, Luis Patino. He's definitely facing an uphill battle to get there.
They are loaded. I'm telling you guys. Julio Urias, we talked about a little bit, but he did go to 5 innings pitch, which is 2 more innings that I expected him to go. The Dodgers are going to Dodger. 5 innings pitched, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk, 1 hit allowed, got the W. Is he finally living up to that potential, Sean, or is this just more an indictment against the Padres just kind of giving up on this game?
No, I think he's really good. I liked him last year. Last year he was in like the 100th percentile in exit velocity and hard hit rate, bouncing between the rotation and the bullpen. This year he was kind of solidified. He appeared in 11 games, started 10 of them, compared to, last year where he was in 37 games, only started 8. The numbers did step back a little bit, as you would expect, going from a bullpen to a starter, but the fastball spin rate was still there. Hard hit rate was still great. He has the complete arsenal, which is like the number one thing I love about a young pitcher. If they have a complete arsenal, a 4-seam, a curve, a change, a slider, he has it. He can control it all, and he is still only 24 years old.
And the best part about him, he's Mexican. Diego Castillo, we touched a little bit upon him. I'm a big fan of his. .27 came up big in this game 5, which was a real nail biter. But he did shut down the Yankees. 2 innings pitched, 4 strikeouts, 1 walk, got the W. We all know who Diego Castillo is at this point, but here's a real question for you. As Aroldis Chapman, negative .18 WPA. He choked. He blew it. This is the second of back-to-back nights where he's throwing 1 1/3 inning pitch. He gives up the game-winning home run to Bucky Brousseau.
Yeah.
2 strikeouts. They got 2 strikeouts, but got the loss. Why does he choke so much? I thought he was the best relief pitcher in the land, and he continues. What's wrong with Aroldis Chapman here?
I mean, one, we have seen the velocity start to tick down, but you go look at it. If you look at his StatCast page, he didn't throw enough innings this year to like qualify and have like his own 2020 page, because he only threw 11 innings.
Sean? You know why?
Why?
Because he was constantly in spring training mode. That's what Yankee fans were telling me. He was constantly in spring training mode, and you'll see as the season progresses, the real Aroldis Chapman comes in. But every time he struggled, Yankee fans would tell me, "Oh, he's just in spring training mode." Well, all right, is he still in spring training mode in the playoffs here?
Yeah, this is the 3rd straight year that he's averaged under 99 miles an hour on his fastball. This was the lowest it's been in his career at 97.8. I mean, it was still a great pitch. Hitters batted 0.95 against it, whiffed 42% of the time. It's just I don't know what to tell you. I think he wasn't put in the best position to go 1+ innings again, after already doing it the game before, 2 games before.
That's what he gets paid for.
Oh
well.
I think it's more of an indictment of Boone. than it would be of Chapman's talent. I still think Chapman can be, one of the best closers in baseball, but it's just crazy how 2 years in a row. Hey, at least this one wasn't a walk-off, right?
At least this one didn't involve buzzers or trash cans, as Yankee fans will tell you. Oh, well, the report says that they were cheating in 2017, and then the report says that they stopped cheating in 2018 and 2019. But Yankee fans are going to Yankee fan all the time. But no, this makes me happy. I appreciate what he did for the Cubs in 2016, but afterwards, just constantly bitching. Well, Madden overused me, and then Yankee fans would pick up on that. Well, he was being overused by Joe Madden. Was he being overused by Aaron Boone here? Maybe,
yes,
maybe not.
I think so.
But I'm pretty sure Yankee fans are going to be like, well, he still should have done the job. Well,
of course.
But, I mean, listen, guys, he's the best relief pitcher in the land, as far as I'm concerned.
It was basically what happened to Jeurys Familia in 2015. They rode Jeurys Familia in the regular season. I think he had like something like that was the season he had 40-something saves, and he pitched like 70 or 80 innings. Then he gets the postseason, and he was the only guy Terry Collins would turn to. And in the series, the Division League series against the Dodgers that year, pitched, I think, like 8 innings in a 5-game series. And then you get to the World Series, and he was just burnt out, and ended up biting the Mets in the ass. But I mean, they can still be talented, but you have to look at the context of what led up to them, choking.
If Yankee fans don't look at context, I don't need a reason to look at context. He choked. Listen, man, I've seen Kenley Jensen throw multiple innings in multiple playoff series. I don't want to hear it. I've seen Liam Hendricks. We just talked about Liam Hendricks. All right? I don't want to hear it.
You know what this says? You shouldn't throw at people's heads. Karma is a bitch.
And then Mike,
I thought that was sometimes you have to get your own justice. And that was great. I love baseball. It's the best sport in the world.
Yeah, and then Mike Brousseau hit it over everybody else's head. So
yeah. Ironically, it wouldn't have been a home run in Yankee Stadium. It would have been at Tropicana Field, but it would not have been a home run at Yankee Stadium, which I'm sure Yankee fans should use now.
Well, at Game 5, it wouldn't have been.
If it was at Yankee Stadium.
just take the L and figure out what you're gonna do next year. Are you gonna fire Aaron Boone? Are you gonna re-sign Masahiro Tanaka and J.A. Happ? Come on. How are we doing on time over there, Sean? Are we done? Are we good? Or
I'm ready to go. I am ready to wrap it up.
All right. Hopefully, with the playoffs winding down, we don't need to keep talking about recapping all of these performances. I thought they were worth recapping because from a real and fantasy standpoint, it's pretty interesting to see how these playoffs
pitching wins championships.
Yeah. Well, so does hitting. I mean, as we saw.
Yeah.
Unless you're the Yankees, who can't hit anything, even though they got all these sluggers and whatever. But it was a very interesting to point out that this is the time of year where everybody's looking for clutch. Well, here are your clutch names. Or you think that it's always a guy that you don't know, and then we find out it's even more obscure than that.
Ryan Thompson.
Yeah,
the Ryan Thompson podcast.
Yeah. So we'll get to the prospects later. I do want to talk some prospects with you in the upcoming weeks as we get ready for the 2021 fantasy baseball season, and not just fantasy, but also the real season. I'm assuming there's going to be one next year. That COVID can't stop this train.
Choo-choo.
Choo-choo. Sean, any last words on your end?
No, not many, other than maybe a slight teaser of something that we've been working on behind the scenes. Your boy and I, Felipe and I, have entered ourselves into a great mind of people over at the Dynasty Guru. Check them out on Twitter and their website. They've gotten a lot of great fantasy minds, and we're doing a Dynasty mock. And I thought it was going to be, normal 12, 15 team little Dynasty mock, knock it out of the way. No, they went crazy. It's a 30-team Dynasty mock. Your boy loves 30-team Dynasty leagues since I'm already in one. And we're putting the slow draft, but we're getting there. And we're hoping that by the end of it to have several of the other owners come on and, possibly look at their teams, because it's never too early to mock draft.
It's never too early. Mario Margola.
Yeah, Mario Margola. I want a little placard with that on the wall right here.
Yeah.
Never too early.
You know what it is? So it's gonna be our version of live, love, and laugh. That's gonna like who is it? Bed Bath and Beyond and Home Goods. They should just take advantage of us guys and say it's never too early.
It's never too early.
And only fantasy baseball players will know what that means. But I'm proud, man. I mean, this is our first year on the podcast. Well, I mean, we've done it before in the past, but not on a regular basis like we're doing it now, regular total basis. But we had to stop and start and start and stop, and there were scheduling conflicts. I had the baby, I went on paternity leave, and we got delayed because Sean got married, so life got in the way. But I think we're finally hitting our stride here, and I'm actually proud that we were what do you call it? Considered to be a part of this 30 team. I see other people and other podcasts constantly do it. You hear it all the time, right, Sean? Enosaurus is part of this ginormous. We mentioned him a lot. So Enosaurus is Enosaurus. What is he, a dinosaur? Enosaurus. Enosaurus, goddammit, is part of some sort of experts league mock or Scott White for the CBS Fantasy. These are guys I listen to. Al Melchior is part of a 12 team, 15 teams, 16, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40 mock draft or sports mock, whatever. It's experts league, and now we're a part of one. So I'm really happy to see our progression being made here, even though it's our first year, and next year it's only going to get even more consistent. I promise you that. I'm excited, man. Thank you for putting in the work and getting us into this. I'm really excited.
For sure. I'm excited for it.
Hell yeah. And then we'll let you know what the results are pretty soon. Are we able to tease anything else besides that, Sean? Any other bone you want to throw at these folks?
Get ready for some prospect talk. I'm psyched for it. I'm psyched for next week.
Awesome. All right. Well, for Sean, this has been the Total Basis Podcast. Oh my God. Listen to us on all the platforms, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, and all the other audio formats out there. You can catch this episode on YouTube if you want to see the visuals. But most importantly for us, catch us Sunday mornings, every Sunday, right here on the Baseball Life Facebook group. There's other podcasts as well throughout all our life groups. There's Dong City, which is on Monday nights tomorrow. Tuesday nights, The Audible with Matt Bushnell and Randy. The Step Back on Wednesday nights over there at Ball is Life. And then Friday, Matt and Randy come back to preview the upcoming games for football. And then we start off your Life Group podcast week right here, Sunday morning, Total Basis Podcast, where you don't know what to expect because the hosts don't know what to expect either. Sean and I, thank you so much for listening. Have a good one, everybody. Enjoy your football.